Let's move on to Group G. Josh, kick us off.
Well, this team features the number one ranked team in all of FIFA in Brazil. We all know their history in World Cup. Some of the greatest players in soccer history have come out of that side, and this is a big chance for Neymar, really reaching the end of his prime, close to his 30s. You know he wants to win. He's come in fourth place in the two World Cups that he's been in, losing that memorable 7-1 defeat to Germany back in 2014, and I think he's got a good chance to start it in a deep group, but I think Brazil advances easily in that first place spot.
The final three teams, Serbia, Switzerland, Cameroon. This is where it gets a little exciting. This group, in my opinion, is kind of open, especially between Switzerland and Serbia, two somewhat similar teams. What do you see here between those two?
I mean, you could even call Group G the group of death. Ratings or not, there is so much talent in this group. The offensive firepower of Serbia reminds me of that run-and-gun Suns team, if you're a basketball fan, that just took the NBA by storm in the mid-2000s. Not enough to get themselves a championship, but enough to make things exciting. A whole lot of talent with one of the breakout players of the 2021-2022 campaign, Dusan Vlahovic, a chance to make a big name for himself, although he might have a move in the summer. Him and Luka Jovic partnering up front. Filip Kostic, the winger for Eintracht Frankfurt as well. A whole lot of pace and a whole lot of scoring ability up front for Serbia. And Switzerland is a known entity in these World Cups.
That's exactly right. Switzerland, of course, has had success at the global stage. I think they ultimately seem to always outperform, what's expected of them, and led by Shaqiri, who just made the move to MLS. A quick note that I want to make, Josh, because we do have a lot of subscribers from the CONCACAF region. There are multiple MLS players being featured in this tournament too. So look around on all these squads. Pretty impressive what that league's been able to do as of late. Josh, Serbia, kind of they have the king of the championship, if you want to call it. A player that is the leading goal scorer for Serbia. I believe he has 44 goals internationally. Mitrovic.
Yeah, he just does nothing but find the back of the net for Fulham. He is certainly pushing them back towards the Premier League. Just a triad of really, really top-level strikers on that side. I think it's going to be enough for them to advance, but you can't leave out Switzerland. Always seems to do well. That is where Xherdan Shaqiri has been so strong in his play. And Cameroon is a dark horse in this group. I think they could surprise people, though they are a more defensive-minded team. They have one of the best goalies in the world, the starting netminder for Ajax in Andre Onana, between the pipes for them. And I think he could really help Cameroon make a name for themselves. Ultimately, I think it's going to be Brazil and Serbia in the top two spots in this group heading to the knockout stages.
Before we get to Group H, Josh, one thing I want to talk about is the Golden Glove. Obviously, goalkeepers are so important in the World Cup run. You mentioned some big names here. Who is your early prediction to win the Golden Glove in this tournament?
That is not an easy question. I mean, there's so much goalkeeping talent. I do think that the best teams in this World Cup are not as great because of their goalkeepers. Okay. I think that the talent in striking in Argentina, like Messi leading the charge, their attack is what makes them so strong. It's going to be difficult to say who wins those Golden Gloves. I think Manuel Neuer, of course, Thibaut Courtois, they're going to make some cases, but it's really hard to tell. I mean, you're going to think of a guy who's going to advance further into the World Cup, who's going to take home that prize. Maybe Rui Patricio from Portugal, who I think can make a big run. We're going to talk about them in Group H. But it's really difficult to say at this stage. There's so much.
Mendy for Senegal, talent. Potentially.
He's certainly a guy who could be in that mix. He's coming off one of the best seasons by a goalkeeper in recent memory, winning the Champions League with Chelsea. Huge breakout year for him back in 2021, and he is continuing that talent. Andre Onana, another guy that I think is great, but I don't think Cameroon makes it out of those knockout stages enough. I think that the best goalies in this World Cup are not on teams that are going to go far enough to get them that Golden Glove. So it's really difficult to say at this point, but I think it's just going to be wide open. There's so much talent in this World Cup, and the stars that were left out were certainly not goalkeepers.
Whoever has the hot hand in the moment should win that award. Now, Josh, Group G, Brazil, it's safe to say will top it. Who do you have in second? Before we move
I think Serbia's offense is just going to be a bit too much. Defense does win championships, but offense gets quick game wins. And those three strikers that we talked about, Luka Jovic, Dusan Vlahovic, and of course Alexander Mitrovic of Fulham, I think that's just going to prove too much for the rest of Group G. But that is going to be one of the tightest finishes, I think, in the entire World Cup in the group stages.